We are. It's already the third Sunday of Advent, and I want to share something with you that I actually found on the internet this week. And I don't know, it sounds very like today. A nationally known newspaper columnist wrote, "There is a sense of loneliness in the country, even a helplessness and a doubt about the fidelity of our institutions. This is something new in our national life, something very dangerous to American character, something to be approached with sympathy and a reconciling spirit rather than, trifled with and twisted into a party argument." That was from 1970. So here we are, and it's like this reading today, you say, is Jesus really messing with me? I mean, John has his own interpretation of who Jesus is supposed to be, and Jesus has another one altogether. So let's begin with, can a volcanic ash be a sign of hope? Well, that seems like a rather odd way to begin this message, but if you're a grape farmer near a volcanic mountain, you may know what I'm describing. In 1908, Mount Etna erupted with such force that thousands of families unfortunately lost their lives. Generations changed, and people migrated to America because of the eruption. And those who stayed learned some secrets. Volcanic ash also makes excellent fertilizer. The slow cooling process of the lava, the decaying of the ash, and with enough patience, outstanding vineyards emerged. The sandy soils are they're just prevalent with insects, but that soil is insect repellent from the ash. The lava makes the soils and the vineyards of Etna so resistant to any predators. So, what would cause such a phenomenon that once scorched the earth that it could blossom into life again? We know it's more than just a scientific discovery. We recognize this intervention as a sign of God's work in our lives when we have patience and endurance to wait for Him. Advent has a way of, kind of grabbing our attention in disruptive ways. There are many years, and this one is no different, when it seems like the scorched earth path of earth, the approaches, it's crazy. It's the way we rain fire down on our enemies. That was the reading that you heard, on any opponents, anybody. We try to incite fear and intimidate others. That's people. That's certainly what people in our text for today were experiencing. Nothing different than 1970. James was writing to a church experiencing economic oppression and hardship, and John the Baptist was in prison, awaiting his fate at the hands of a corrupt ruler. It was enough to make any believer, at least afraid, and at most extremely angry. But the prophet Isaiah and Jesus' brother James offer a different perspective. It's something that the Greeks called macrothomia, or the slow burn. The English word for this, of course, is patience. We often think of patience as something we need to have a little more of, or as something we need to employ when waiting at the lines wherever we go. Patience is, it's a spiritual discipline that keeps our anger, our complaints, and our fears in check. It's the idea that before we just erupt with rage like a volcano, what we need is a process of slowly letting off the steam, or a long, slow burn so we don't make the matters get worse. James warns of our reactionary tendency when others have burned us. When we feel oppressed or close to burnout, we like to vent our feelings with others. We become grumblers. We take our feelings about our oppressors out to all our friends and complain about each other. Or even worse, we treat our oppressors the way they treated us. We try to rain down fire on them. We file a complaint. We go online. We attack the company, whatever, glassdoor.com. What's the alternative? Well, I think we can have a mindset of a grape farmer. That is when the earth has rained down volcanic lava on a field, and he recognizes that with patience and timing, that the volcanic ash, once it's cooled long enough, becomes a seedbed for, new life to just sprout forth. This is why Isaiah can say, "Fear not." You thought you were being hurt and persecuted. Don't be afraid. Everything that is happening to you now has become the soil of a new life, and the desert will bloom. The waters will flow again. The ground beneath your feet will, come to life. You'll notice it beginning to take place because, the eyes of the blind will be opened, and the deer will leap again, and those with the weak and feeble knees will walk again. So while we wait, we do something that only a season of patient endurance can provide. We strengthen our hearts with each other. And James points out to the process and says, take as an example of hardship and patience, brothers and sisters, the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Prophets like Isaiah, John the Baptist, and Jesus had a secret weapon they used during times of hardship and waiting. They had each other. Instead of taking their anger out on one another and complaining, they decided to form closer bonds of friendship with other prophets. Notice in Matthew 11, John is not alone in prison. He has a community around him, and he sends one of them to investigate what he heard about Jesus. He drew strength from the school of prophets. This practice is also what farmers do. They talk to each other, they share ideas, and they help one another grow their crops and raise their livestock. They don't treat each other as competitors. They cooperate and help bring back the crops to life after there's been a dry spell. The one thing they want to avoid is seeing each other or one of the others going bankrupt. They have a vested interest in the farming or an agricultural community in which they live, and they want that community to continue to thrive. What is the best response to a scorched earth world? Well, it's to form friendships with others. That means that our initial response to someone else's complaints must change. Instead of joining in on the gripes, we listen, we lean in, and we stay curious, but not condescending. We learn to ask, what else is going on? We view complaints as a signal and alert system. The problem is usually not the subject of the complaint. It's usually the pain in the complainer's life. When we hear concerns, our role is to help slow down the burn. And we can ask the deeper question, what's going on in your life? Or what happened to you? How can I walk with you through your pain? Instead of taking frustrations out on someone else, we let a complaint signal the need for a friendship. We turn down the heat so we can allow the soil to cool the waters to flourish and for Christ to come again. So, where in your life do you need to turn down the heat? Is there a person in your life whose surliness seems to suck the oxygen out of the room? Who can you sit down with to find out what first ignited that spark? Because when we do, we're preparing, the soil for the Lord to come at just the right time. And the church says, Amen.